intercourse with them without witnesses or a dowry.
So which verse is that? Which verse is that from?
This is just before we jump onto that. This is this Bab and Azul that you were talking about. Just before we jump onto that, I'm just going to say this Bab and Azul that Lamis has brought up just a moment ago. This is the narration of what happened in 424, the verse that you were speaking about.
Okay.
This is the Haba. So when the messenger of Allah, bless him and give him peace, captured the people of Autas as prisoners of war, we said, O Prophet of Allah, how can we possibly have physical relationships with women whose lineage and husband we know very well? These were people that were known to them, cousins of some of them. And so this verse was revealed, and all married women are forbidden to you, save those captives whom your right hands possess. They then went on to have intercourse with these women.
How evil.
Okay.
Felt the men.
No, but I don't understand why we're missing out so where does the marriage come into it? Can you explain that bit to me? Maybe I'm missing something.
You can marry your slave, but there's no obligation for you to do it.
But where's that though? Where's the non-obligation bit that you're talking about? Because in the Quran, I mean, it clearly says, yeah, as long as you seek with them your wealth in a legal marriage and not fornication. I mean, fornication would imply not doing it with outside the confines of marriage. Am I wrong? I'm not too sure.
Yeah, this is Ibn Kathir.
That's fine.
So the verse that you're bringing up has 4 different things within it. The very first sentence, forbidden to you are women already married, except those your right hands possess, is the first one. That's talking about female captives of war. The next part is talking about anyone beyond those you need to seek in legal means, so giving them a dowry, and approaching the guardian for their consent, etc. The final thing is about the concept of muta, the temporary marriage, which is from what you enjoy from them, pay them. So this was a concept at the time of Muhammad where you could contract and have a temporary marriage contract with a woman. And then there's difference of Shia believe that this still continues on today, but then there's authentic narrations that we have from both Muhammad and Umar, I think, that say that the thing was forbidden. But there's 3 different things, and Ibn Kathir is a great place to look.
So in the bit that you got off, where does it say temporary marriage in these verses that you've got here that you're showing on the screen now? Does it?
I'll go down to that, but this is the middle part that you were talking about. And all others are lawful, meaning you are allowed to marry women other than the prohibited types mentioned here. So he's saying what I'm saying about beyond these. You are allowed to marry women other than the prohibited types mentioned here. As Ota and others have stated, Allah's statement, provided you seek them with a dowry from your property, desiring chastity, not fornication, meaning you are allowed to use your money to marry up to 4 wives, and for the purchase of as many female slaves as you like. Let me just zoom into that. As many female slaves as you like, all through legal means. Desiring chastity.
And this is showing. This is the verse that I've read. 424.
424. Yeah.
Okay. So who you read? Ibn Kathir. Yeah. Okay.
Yes, Ibn Kathir.
Yeah. Also in An-Nisa 3, so it says, if you have reason to fear that you might not act equitably towards the orphans, marry from among women that are lawful to you, 2 or 3 or 4. But if you have reason to fear that you might not be able to treat them with equal fairness, then only 1, or those whom you rightfully possess. Why is there or? Why does it separate the women you can marry from the right hand possessed? Because the right hand possessed are your slaves. You don't marry them. You can marry up to 4 women or 1, and as many right hand possessed as you want.
You can buy them. You can buy as many.
You can buy them and sleep with as many as you want, but you can only marry 4 women.
Okay, so we're talking about something different now. So we're not talking about captives. We're talking about slaves now. Is that what we're talking? So we're talking about slaves.
Listen, I told you the Islamic definition of right.
Why are you getting angry for? We're having a conversation. Why are you getting so angry for? Calm down. Bring your tone down. It's okay, man. Chill, relax. Take a chill, man.
I'm not.
Take a chill, man. Take a breath. I promise you, take a breath, sister. You're really getting me and the host having a really good conversation. Yeah, you're getting really upset.
Yeah, let's not tone police though. People get upset about this because it is pretty horrific.
I don't know why. I mean, I'm trying to learn as well. You know, I'm reading something and you're telling me something else. So I mean, I'm asking you to show me, and then she's getting upset. I don't get it.
I'm not getting upset. It's because I already told you the definition of right hand, the Islamic definition of right hand possessed.
Okay. What does right hand mean? You keep saying it. What does that mean? Right hand. What does that mean?
In the Quran, which means, I'm telling you, the Islamic definition of right hand possessed is women you have captured in war or those you have bought from the slave market. So they are slaves that you can sleep with.
Yes.
Okay, and where can I find that? Is that in the Quran, or is that hadith, or what is that? The right hand possession. How you describe it as captives and slaves.
They've got it from the hadith. You can look it up on islamweb.com. It explains it to you. Islam Q&A explains it to you.
Yeah, the chapter heading of Ibn Kathir.
Yeah, I just want to have a look.
It was, if you look at the tafsir that we're just looking at, the chapter of it is literally forbidding women except female slaves. So this is what I was saying earlier on about, you were saying about the obligation to marry, and I was saying that some scholars say that there's no obligation for you, so this is a question being asked to Islam Q&A, and the question, let me zoom out a little bit. Does a slave woman become free if her master marries her? Answer. The scholars are unanimously agreed it is not permissible for the master to marry his slave woman because the contract of ownership is stronger than the contract of marriage, and it contains all the same conditions as the marriage contract and more. It is permissible for him to marry the slave woman of another man if the conditions of that are fulfilled. Ibn Qudama said the master does not have the right to marry his slave woman because ownership makes him entitled to benefit from what he owns and intimacy. So not marriage here. By right of him.
Can you just go back up? Can you just go back up where it says, just back up a bit more. I think the first paragraph where it said that the same conditions. It is stronger than the contract of marriage, and it contains all the same conditions as a marriage contract and more. Do you know what that means, or?
Yeah, it means that you can have intimacy with your slave woman. It means that you have right over them by virtue of ownership. So there's no reason for you to.
No, but in this context here, because it says, because the contract of ownership is stronger than a contract of marriage. I don't know what that means, first of all. And then it says, no, I will. I don't mind you explaining. I just want to read the next bit as well. Then, and it contains all the same conditions. So it contains all the same conditions as the marriage contract and more. I don't know what all that means, to be fair.
I can explain to you. So in Islam, you'll be aware that if you marry a woman, you need to give her dowry. Correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, you'll be aware that if you marry a woman. If you marry a woman as well, your income or part of your income is given to her to adjudicate how she wants in the house, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, so when you have a slave woman, you do not need to pay a dowry to your slave woman. You do not need to give her part of your income, but you are still entitled to have intimacy with her. So for the same reason...
But that's not... I don't know, maybe I'm reading it different because it says here that it's stronger and it's more.
This is why he's saying it. Ibn Qudama is explaining it here. This is a Shaykh al-Islam, by the way.
Okay.
The master does not have the right to marry his slave woman because ownership makes him entitled to benefit from what he owns and intimacy.
Yeah.
So he's getting everything that he would get from a woman without doing the dowry, without paying her money to keep up the house.
That's not what it says. But that's not what it says. It says that it's more than a marriage contract. So you have to, if you have to give dowry to your wife, then what more do you have to give to the slave?
No, it's saying that the marriage has more. So it contains all the same conditions as the marriage contract and more, meaning that you don't have to give a dowry. You're not obliged to give a dowry to the slave woman. You're
Where
not
you
obliged
get that?
to give
Because as a layman, me reading it, because the contract of ownership is stronger than the condition of marriage and it contains all the same conditions. When you say the same conditions, so in my mind, I'm assuming that you'd have to give the dowry to the slave as well, and you'd have to give the same right. Like, am I reading it wrong or?
Yeah, the more conditions is you're not obliged to do these things. The same conditions that it's saying here is that you have the right to intimacy when you want it from them.
Yeah, it's
You
reassuring.
can be so that you're entitled to have intimacy with your slave in the same way that you're entitled to have intimacy with your wife. However, when it comes to your slave, you don't have to fulfill some of the obligations that the Quran asks you to do. I.e., 1, give her a dowry. 2, speak to her father.
Can you show
or her
me that bit
guardian
where
to
it
get
says
permission.
you don't have to? Because obviously, that's a bit. Well, what I'm reading there, it says that you kind of do. You have to give her the same kind of rights.
I think everyone's getting this. I'm not trying to be funny here, commenters, but I think everyone's getting it other than you. Let me just read out the Ibn Qudama here. Let me read out for the end part. And then we can, as I say, never just take my word for it. Go away and look at these things and do your own research.
No, I definitely will. Because I mean, I'm reading it with you, and to be fair, it says, the ownership, the wife's, it's more. And then it's the same conditions, and it's more.
So the master. So here, this is a Sheikh al-Islam, by the way. The master does not have the right to marry his slave woman because ownership makes him entitled to benefit from what he owns and intimacy.
Yeah.
So he can be intimate with the woman without being married.
Okay.
So it cannot be combined with a contract that is weaker than it. If he becomes his wife's owner and she is a slave woman, her marriage contract is annulled. The same applies if a woman becomes the owner of her husband. Her marriage contract is annulled. We do not know of any difference of opinion among the scholars concerning this. End quote.
Can I just show something, please?
Sure.
This is Islam Q&A, right? And it says here, this is a hadith. It was narrated that Rawayfi ibn Thabit al-Ansari said, I heard the Messenger of Allah, peace and blessings, blah, 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 be upon him, say on the day of Hunayn, it is not permissible for any man who believes in Allah and the last day to have intercourse with a woman who is pregnant, and it is not permissible for a man who believes in Allah and the last day to have intercourse with a captured woman until he has established that she is not pregnant. And it's not permissible for a man who believes in Allah and the last day to sell any of the, because I'm reading from booty until it has been shared out. Narrated by Abu Dawood 2158, classed as Hasan by Shaykh al-Albani in Sahih Abu Dawood 1890. Nothing about marriage. It's all about intercourse.
Yeah, because what?
They need to wait to make sure they are not pregnant before they sleep with them. Also, you can bring him up the hadith about coitus interruptus, when they came and said to the Prophet, we want to practice coitus interruptus with the slaves. And he was like...
Yeah, I can show you that.
Yeah, so we have many hadiths showing that the Sahaba slept with the slave captives without marriage.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because milk yamin, you possess them. Now you can do whatever you want to them. Can I ask a question, please?
It's called milk. It's possession.
Well, exactly.
Milk.
Have you heard of... sorry.
Don't know. No, it's okay. The thing is, a lot of Muslims don't really know about Islam. They really have no idea, other than.
See, but you know what the problem is, Mira. You know when you start delving into these things, it doesn't really change anything for anybody because it's not something that most Muslims in the West believe. I mean, I'm from South Asia, so.
But it should change, though. It should change.
But it doesn't. It really doesn't. And that's the thing.
let me tell you, you know why it should change for you?
Yeah.
Why it should change things for you? Because this is divine. This is something that you take to your heart. You think it's holy. You think it's from God. This is something that you have the utmost respect for. And if you look at it as in, and you say, well, it doesn't apply to my current life now. The reason it doesn't apply is because human beings have put in effort to outlaw these barbaric beliefs. Enslaving humans is not allowed because there are laws, man-made laws that have outlawed them. But go to a Sharia-run place, go to Afghanistan or countries where Sharia applies. And even them, they were forced to outlaw these because of secular law. And this is the reason why it should change something for you and within you is as a human, you should look at these things and condemn them. And if you're able to condemn that, it should be able to change how you view the Prophet that brought you these things and the Allah that you see as all-knowing, all-perfect. It should change a lot for you, actually. Yes, Mama.
Exactly.
That's the thing. I could play the whole game of, it happens here, but there's no point doing that because it doesn't benefit anybody. To be fair, because it's a sharing blame. But
But your name is common sense, and you should look at this as forget about if it's vile morally for you or not. You should look at this at the perspective of validity or credibility. Is this an all-knowing God or a prophet that condones this? You have to think of it as common sense, right?
the thing is, there was different times, different things happen. Things have changed over the years with Islam. There is definitely a slight progression in Islam. Of course, there is, because if we lived exactly in those times, it would be a madness. Things would not be the way they are right now. So there is definitely a level of progression. So the slavery doesn't happen anymore. It's not a thing that happens anymore. So it doesn't really affect anybody's life, day-to-day life nowadays.
Hang on, it doesn't happen anymore because our morality evolved, not because Islam changed.
Exactly.
Islam doesn't change. The Quran is for all time and place.
Exactly.
Yeah.
See, but that's really good. That's really good that you said that. That's really good that you said that because
there's a prophecy. There's a
slavery.
prophecy. Do you agree with the prophecy that when the end time comes and Isa returns and things like that the Muslims are going to fight with the Jews?
What, the eschatology, yeah, the eschatology of the end of times, yeah. You're looking at eschatology verses, yeah.
So,
but these are obviously,
yeah, but there are going to be future wars. If there are future wars, well, this is the prophecy anyway. If there are future wars, that means that these verses are going to come back into. There's nothing that there's nothing that.
But how Muslims understand war and how they understand conflict, we've got set guidelines how these things happen. Quran 2:190, God doesn't let you be a transgressor. Most fighting in the Quran is about defensive. There are preemptive attacks. Those things definitely did happen, but in the Quran is mostly about.
Can I tell something? Why do you think the entire world is at war with Islam? Everywhere that Muslims
because Islam is a problem for the West. That's why, because it goes against the values of alcohol, gambling, usury. It's a problem for what the Western world runs on.
It's not just the West though. Everywhere that Islam has interfaced with a different belief system, whether it has been the Hindus and Sikhs in India, whether it has been the Berbers or the Amazigh, whether it has been African tribes, or whether it has been in Andalusia, wherever, or the Jews and Christians in the Arabian Peninsula, or the Zoroastrians, pagans, wherever Islam has interfaced with another belief system, there has been bloodbath, there has been war, there has been oppression. Everywhere.
You just gave Andalusia 800 years with the Jews living under Muslim rule. That wasn't a bloodbath. When the Crusaders came, the Jewish people wanted to go with the Muslims. They didn't want to go with the Crusaders.
You've skipped by a very crucial part of history. How did Muslims come to rule Al-Andalusia?
A lot. To be fair, they came actually at the time. There's only 5% of Muslims in the world, and that's where we got married from, divorced from.
How did the Muslims get into Al-Andalusia and take over it and be ruling it?
Through blood.
Through wars.
Through Jihad al-Talib. This wasn't a preemptive strike. They were literally at the north of Africa, and they sailed over to the south of Spain.
Okay, and then
took
what?
over the land,
And they took over the land and did what?
slaughtered loads of people to take over rule.
Well, how come the Jews are still there then? How come we don't kill the Jews?
Why do you think the Quran
Not
says that
every
your
person was unalive, but this is.
Well, why
this
not?
is
But
just
why not?
com-
No,
this
no,
is
but see,
basic history.
that doesn't make sense. Your narrative doesn't make sense because if the Jews lives under the Muslims, why did we not kill the Jews? Why did we not just kill everybody? Because that's the narrative you're pushing.
Unalive.
Sorry, because that's the
I didn't
narrative
say
that's
that
being pushed.
Hold on, Cummins. I didn't make the claim that everywhere they go they unalive everyone. I
So
said
that's
everywhere-
exactly what you said. To be fair,
No, I didn't. Well, focus on what I said because it's absolutely not what
Yeah.
I said. I said wherever Islam interfaces with a different belief system, there is war and bloodbath. I didn't say
okay, I'll give
everyone
you.
is
I'll give you
unalive.
another example.
When they went, but hold, just before we jump to that other example, do you agree when the Muslims interfaced when they first went over to the south of Spain?
I agree.
Al-Andalusia,
I
and they
agree
took
that
over-
Muslims.
Hold on, Commons. You need to listen to my question. When they first went over to the south of Spain and they started conquesting, was there war and bloodbath?
Yeah, there was obviously in war.
there you go.
People do get unalived.
Yeah,
But-
this is the
but-
point I made. There was no
See, but
reason
the
for them to be there.
But this is what happens in conquest.
I'm saying that all
the-
conquest is wrong.
Yeah, but I mean,
That's my
but
point.
no, that's fine.
I'm saying-
That can be a point. I mean,
I'm saying
the
that,
British.
we shouldn't be conquesting.
So you obviously disagree with the with British colonization. You know,
Yes,
how they colonized outwards as well.
my family was displaced by British colonialism. We were much more recently than anyone in the Middle East, by the way. My family was taken off their land and their house, and we were displaced by British colonialism. So yes, I'm against that. I'm against
exactly.
colonialism and imperialism of all kinds.
So you're against American colonialism that's happening right now, yeah?
Yep, and I'm against.
And that's
Islamic
fine. That's fine as long as you're. But you do believe that the West was more barbaric in the way that they committed that they went to war. You would concede that fact, yeah?
How do you say more barbaric? How are we weighing?
You know, Genghis
both are
Khan,
barbaric.
King Leopold, Schnitzel,
Genghis Khan
Hiroshima,
was a Muslim.
Nagasaki.
Genghis Khan was a Muslim.
He definitely wasn't a Muslim. Maybe I think maybe he became Muslim later, but I don't think when he was killing everybody, I don't think he was Muslim then.
Yeah, unless they were following a god, then it's a false
Yeah.
analogy.
No, it's not. No, because
You
I'm
can't
taking away from
compare
Islam.
fallible humans to a law that was sent by a god. Your god should have known better.
And he does. That's why when Muslims turned up to
doesn't.
Jerusalem,
The Quran
when Muslims turned up to
literally says-
Jerusalem,
No,
how many people did they unalive? When Khalid ibn Walid turned up to Jerusalem, how many people did they unalive? And the Romans at the time were
Sorry,
it
but
was
we've literally been sat here for the past hour showing
Yeah.
you that in your Quran,
yeah.
it allows the taking of slaves, of captives
Okay.
during war, enslaving
Okay.
them and sleeping with them.
Yes.
Your Quran
Okay.
says that your prophet has to take the fifth of the spoils from every battle.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
So there is nothing
Okay.
there is nothing better in the Quran than what those
Okay.
people did. The only
But
difference
it is
set
better because
different.
those people committed
only
more
difference
genocides.
is-
They committed genocides.
Yeah, both are wrong. We're
There were
not
definitely
defending-
more bloodthirsty.
Right.
But hold on, common sense. This is a horrible, horrible, horrible argument. What you're saying
It's not because it-
yeah. Well, just allow me.
It's night and day.
Allow me to finish, please. What you're saying just now is, what would you rather have, cancer or AIDS?
No.
Would you rather have
I'm
neither?
not saying that. I'm saying
You
it's
are.
literally like night and day.
You are. Both of them are wrong. I'm the one that's being consistent here. You're the one that's saying Western colonialism and imperialism is wrong. But when Islam does it, it's okay. And here, this is just the logical inconsistency of Muslims. When other people are doing it and they're butchering people, it's wrong. When your prophet...
No,
was to
see,
have
the
it
problem
and
is the
fallen
prophet.
caliphs done it,
You know, because obviously you do a lot of research in Islam and stuff. You know that the prophet was persecuted 12 years before he finally went on a
Why
defensive
was he
war.
persecuted? He lived a life preaching Islam. No one was really joining. It was just as he was.
No, that's fine. So you don't know
But
that
if
bit
he
of his life.
Hold on. If he was being persecuted, he would have been unalived. If you're saying that he was in a place for 13 years preaching and no one done anything to him, it sounds like the most ineffective persecution I've ever heard in my life.
It sounds like
But you got to remember who the prophet was. He wasn't like Jesus, just somebody's wondering. He was actually head of state. He was head of state. He was a lawman.
Not at the beginning. He was a merchant trader for his wife Khadijah. He wasn't.
No, see, it's funny. It's funny that you know that bit. You see, it's funny that you know these little bits, but it's fine. It's fine. You can have your narrative. I don't mind it. You see, when I'm talking to you, I can see where you.
I'm reading your scripture. This isn't a narrative. This is the hadith that Lamis wanted me to bring up, just because it's been on screen for about 10 minutes before we move on. From Muwatta Malik. Yahya related to me from Malik, from Humayd ibn Qais al-Maki, that a man called the Thief said that Ibn Abbas was asked about coitus interruptus. For anyone that doesn't speak English, this is the pull-out method, shall we say. You pull out before you complete. He called a slave girl of his and said, "Tell them." She was embarrassed. He said, "It is all right, and I do it myself." Malik said, "A man does not practice coitus interruptus with a free woman unless she gives her permission." So if you're a free woman, you need to say expressly whether or not they're allowed to do it. Next part. There is no harm in practicing coitus interruptus with a slave girl without her permission. Someone who has someone else's slave girl as a wife does not practice coitus interruptus with her unless her people give him permission, because this slave girl is the property of someone else. But just to repeat, there is no harm in practicing coitus interruptus with a slave girl without her permission. So lack of consent here. Don't even have to say to your slave girl if you want to do it. And this is what's allowed.
So what is this? Is this a hadith? What is this?
Yep, this is a hadith. I can show you other narrations in which Muhammad was approached about this. Let me see.
Yeah.
So this is Sahih al-Bukhari 6603, narrated from Abu Sa'id al-Khudri. This was the same narrator from Ortas, by the way. That while he was sitting with the Prophet, a man from the Ansar came and said, "O Allah's apostle, we got slave girls from the war captives and we love property. What do you think about coitus interruptus?" So here we are asking Muhammad about doing this. Allah's apostle said, "Do you do that? It is better for you not to do it, for there is no soul which Allah has ordained to summon into existence, but will be created."
Lamis,
So
what's the Arabic word for coitus interruptus?
I don't know if I can.
No, Lamis speaks Arabic, and so I thought you might tell me.
That doesn't mean.
Lamis, what's the word for coitus interruptus?
Wait, I have to read it.
Oh, okay.
Is it azl?
رجل من الأنصار فقال يا رسول الله إنا نصيب سبيا ونحب المال. نحب المال. By the way, here it says we love money.
Money,
There are other hadiths where they say we want to sleep with the slaves, but we also want to use them as ransom later or to sell them. That's why we want to practice coitus interruptus.
What's the Arabic word for coitus interruptus then, sorry?
العزلة.
Al-Uzla.
العزلة.
Yeah.
طرف العزلة, yeah.
Can I see it? Can you point at it, the host?
I'll bring you up a hadith that actually says it in the Arabic. Let me just keep scrolling. I'll find you. It's mentioned.
So are we all agreeing that slavery is bad? Is that what we agree to? Yeah.
Well,
That's
we agree. Your
Yeah.
prophet doesn't.
Well, slavery doesn't happen anymore. I mean, it doesn't happen. We don't do slavery. I mean, in this country, we didn't pay off the slavery debt for 2015. You know, our taxes
Not
paid off
because
for
of
slavery in this
Islam.
country.
Okay.
No, it's because of slavery.
Hang on. If a war happened and the Muslims were fighting, would it be haram for them to take slaves today?
They would no, because the society. One of the reasons why the people would take the women in them times was because women now would just be left to fend for themselves.
No, but in a war today, would it be haram for you to take a
No,
slave?
they wouldn't take them because times have changed. Because there'd be other people that could take the women and look after them.
Answer
There's
the
like,
question
like
he's
feminists.
You can't
You know, like
Yeah,
feminist
common
groups.
sense.
In this day,
They
Common
can
sense.
come in and
Hold on,
take
Shraddha,
the
hold
women
on.
and look after them.
You
Yeah,
can't make
common
that
sense. You
argument
need
as
to
a
answer the
Muslim.
question that
Times
Lamis is
don't
asking.
change. Times don't change for in Islam. Yeah,
Of course they do.
Al-Quran صالح لكل زمان ومكان. If it says in the Quran you are allowed to take right hand possessions, then you are allowed to take right
Yeah,
hand possessions.
but if I do that, then the Quran says to me I have to marry him.
Huh?
No.
But if you're telling me the way that I have to read it, then if I read the Quran like the way I read it, I read that verse. He said you have to marry him, so I'd marry him.
you have to
Give
marry
me a
them
scholar who
in
says
the
that you
right
need
way.
to marry your slave.
Why are
But
you?
that's what she just said to me. She goes to me, if you look at the Quran, and I said, yeah, I did look at the Quran. I read that verse 423, and if I just read the literal translation, it just says to me, you have to marry them and not fornicate with them.
Are you Quranist now? Are you reading
No,
the
no.
Quran and interpreting it in your own way? We just showed you how it
showed
is
you the-
interpreted by the scholars based on the hadiths, okay?
No, that's fine.
Interpret it yourself.
No, that's fine. But if you just read the Arabic without interpreting it, it says you have to marry them and not fornicate with them. So, like, it's not too difficult. I
No,
don't need
the-
to go to like a second
the
or
Arabic
third or
doesn't
fourth
say that.
source, or I don't need to do anything else.
Where did it say you
The
have
Arabic
to
doesn't say
marry
that.
them? It literally
doesn't
says
In
to you,
in 423, that's what it says. You need to, you should marry them and not fornicate with them.
in
But then you're
4:3
telling me to go look at the tafsir.
Oh my
but
God.
why would I do that for when I could just read the Quran and then be like, okay, that's what it says. That's fine.
then you're a Quranist. You're taking yourself out of the fold of Sunni Islam. You're not
How?
a Sunni anymore because it's
How am I doing that?
You don't get to
No, I believe in the
interpret
hadith.
yourself. Listen, in Nisa 3, it says, if you
Yeah.
fear you will not be just with the orphans, then marry 2 or 3 or 4. Or if you won't be just between them, you can have one or your right hand possessed. You can have wives and your right hand possessed. And why are they addition or different to the wife?
What was that verse? What was that first? Sorry, Lamis.
4:3.
4-3. Yeah, no, that's fine. I'm learning. We're all learning, man. I like it. We're all learning.
You can have wives and right hand
Yeah.
possessed.
No, that's
Why
fine,
would
man.
why would it be separate? Why would Allah separate the wives from the right hand possessed if they're the same thing?